Hello everyone, I'm Pavan. Today, I'll be speaking about migrant histories. Mental health among the migrant student communities in Melaka. Migration can have severe effects on mental health of migrant communities. Often homesickness, racial disparity, xenophobia, food and financial insecurities play a vital role in its cause, especially when the migrant community belongs to an adolescent age group who are still in the process of developing a structured personality. This study tries to examine the factors of psychological distress, if any, in the migrant post-adolescent student communities from Malaysia, who are students in Melaka Manipal Medical College, Manipal Academy of Higher Education. Even with significantly least racial disparity and xenophobia, the number of students with mental health issues due to adaptability problems are quite alarming. There is a cultural shift in the process of educational migration that affects the health of these students. Most of the previous studies have focused mostly on the causes for the adversities only within the premises, and to mention quite often public schools. These studies have discovered that very often it is the curriculum, void of personal attention, unhealthy clash between students that stimulate the state of intellectual subnormality, emotional difficulty or mental instability, which often have repercussions such as suicide, physical and sexual abuse, drug and alcohol abuse. There is no doubt that these studies have proved their point evidently and efficiently, but it happens to be the case that they do not cover the entirety of the issue, nor do they focus on other factors which are apparently considered to be non-influential and frivolous, such as racial or class difference, family background, migration and the cognitive factors. However, studies have been conducted in the recent times in order to address these latter issues that are proved to be essential dimension in protracting certain mental health issues of student community. Primary interest to do this study was actually inspired by a small conversation with a friend where we exhaustively talked about his uncanny mechanism in order to cope his feeling of homesickness, which he later turned them into anomalous behavioral pattern in his everyday schedule. This was also the time when I was closely working with mental health and faculty members. Another time I had a similar conversation with a friend from the same institute who also had similar problems and reported that he was diagnosed with bipolar or manic depression, and how this affected his behavior and academic life, and further addressing the effect of migration adding to the problem at hand. There was an obvious pattern that was visible in these conversations, and mostly the conversations carried phrases such as mental health issue, feeling of attachment, abrupt cultural disparity, and the need for emotional support. It was hard to evoke such questions and similar conversations, keeping in mind all the stigma of mental health on one hand while romanticization of the same on the other. But I somehow managed to get responses from a few friends from the same institution, which happened to be very accurate to the pattern that was visible with the previous conversations. Migration besides academia had an immense amount of mental pressure on certain set of immigrant students who found it very difficult to adjust. This paper, based on Bowlby's attachment theory, which is about biological and cultural bond that individuals form with specific people or things in their environment. These attachments support, provided by key caregivers, help them to construct, or sometimes not, a feeling of security and help-seeking behavior that function to protect them in situations of distress and to facilitate their exploration of social world in general. Further, it also suggests that these specific bonds that are created by the individual will have significant effect on their work model, self-worth and coping mechanism. My key finding, surprisingly, was not one of my objectives at all. The food consumption, which played a crucial role in mental health and overall productivity, had least effect among the people who were already familiar with the Indian cuisine or who took no time to adjust, and another set of people who consumed food from international chain restaurant who were quite familiar with the food that they were about to continue to consume. It seems that this familiarity with the food across the region of origin and of the host society seems to ease the individual from a major problem under this umbrella of adaptivity. Thus, it seems that one among the main issues under cultural disparity can be solved, and this gives scope for further studies that could possibly try to resolve this concerning issue. I hope my study encourages new research work in similar parts of migrant studies and tries to understand the adaptability problem and the possible solution to better facilitate the communities at risk. Thank you.